Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble this ASUS S510U. Alright, so the full model is S510UN-NH77. Alright, we're going to be using a PH1 or JS1 screwdriver to remove the screws from the bottom. You do want to keep the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. And the way I do that is once I remove the screw, I basically, let me see if I can get it out. There we go. Basically put them upside down like that, flat side down on my desk in the pattern I remove them. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. If this video helps you out, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. This laptop was missing one screw. I put another one back. I had them slightly mixed up, so hopefully I have the right screws where they need to be. This one had a broken hinge, and the screen was kind of really dented. I actually fixed that like off camera because that kind of thing is kind of difficult to do when I'm trying to record. So yeah, both sides ended up needing a bunch of glue. I'll show you like partially what I ended up having to do. If you notice, I had to pop these two rubber things out. I used my fingernails to do that. You can use plastic pry tools or screwdrivers if you don't mind accidentally possibly scratching this. Alright, and anyways, let's go ahead and continue getting all these screws out. You don't want to mix these screws up. A lot of them are different sizes and shapes, so you want to keep that in mind. Assuming I did it right, I believe this one back here was longer than all the rest, because when I try and put one of these shorter ones in there, it actually doesn't even go. So yeah, alright, and then the two under here are black, so they are different than the rest as well. And I think there's two much shorter ones on these outer corner edges. Okay, again, you do want to put your screws in order. Make sure you get the right ones in the right place. I had to kind of guess just because I accidentally had the screws got blown around and mixed up. But yeah, all right, so I think that's how they were. So I think these two, and this one are all the same length, but it's always a good idea to try and put the same ones back where you got it if you can. Alright, so you can use like a little pry tool to do this, but usually I just use my fingernails. So I'm going to show you, we're going to open up the screen a little bit like this, and then what I do is I get my fingernails in here, I'll push on the palm rest, okay, not the trackpad, the palm rest, and I'll pull while I use my fingernails. So basically we're kind of just rotating it like this. Okay, and you can see it's popping out. Keep in mind this cover is quite a bit difficult to remove. You'll see what I mean when we get to the back portion. So back here is very difficult to remove. Because the hinge is broken, also this piece is kind of coming out, and it doesn't slide on the way it's supposed to. But I'll kind of take it completely out just to kind of show you guys. Okay, so there we go. We got that out. Next, I'm going to take this metal thing. Okay, we're going to go under there, and we're just going to work our way along because this, for some reason, these clips are a lot harder to remove. So if you see it's not coming out, then you just get a tool in there, and then you kind of just twist it a little, and it pops out. Okay, after we got that, there are some clips in the middle that also get stuck, so you might have to kind of wiggle it a little bit, but you saw it just came out. I do need to clean this. It's a little dusty. So actually, let me do that real quick, and I'll be back. First thing, though, we're going to disconnect the battery. Okay, so the battery connector is right here. To disconnect it, there's this metal thing. You just slide it back. You can like kind of push it this way, as you can see, or just like pull it back. And then after that, you just use your fingernail or a plastic pry tool and just pop it up. Okay, after doing that, I'm going to open up the screen very carefully, slowly. And then you want to press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds. If you're just changing the RAM, hard drive, or SSD, you don't really need to do this. But because I'm going to be taking the screen out and showing everything, I'm going to do this just to be extra safe. Either way, you can do this if you're doing the hard drive, RAM, or SSD as well. It makes it a little bit safer, but in most cases, it's not going to be an issue if you don't. Okay, so I'm just going to close this back up, and all right, let me zoom back out. All right, let me clean this up, and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out to get like get it in camera, the whole thing, or at least most of it. There we go. Okay, so let me clean it. I'll be back. You'll see this dust disappear. All right, so I'm back. We cleaned this up a bit. Here you can see Some of this stuff is kind of stuck on there and won't come out, but for the most part, it's a lot cleaner now. Okay, here's what the inside looks like. All right, since most people are just going to be here for like the RAM and the SSD and stuff, let's go ahead and pop out the RAM so I can show you. Just pull these two tabs to the side. Actually, let me zoom in here a bit. Probably should have got, I don't know if I got a good thumbnail, but anyways, here you go. This is an 8 gig PC4 2400T. So if you want, you can get another 8 gig PC4 2400T and put it in that empty slot. Then you can have 16 gigs. I believe they also have 16 gig sticks if you want to put 2 of those and have 32 gigs. There's an M.2 SSD here. Is this SATA or PCIe? This is a M.2 SATA SSD. It says SATA 6 gigabits per second. Yeah, I would recommend, I don't know if it supports it. I would assume it does because it has an actual SATA drive connector here. So I would assume this also supports PCIe NVMe. I would give that a shot if I were buying an SSD. Make sure if you do order one that you either have a good return policy or that you checked online to make sure that this laptop supports that. I don't know if it does or not. Anyways, let me show you the SSD, how you remove it. Basically one screw. After you remove that screw, you can pop it up just like the RAM, okay? And then you just grab it, wiggle it, and pull it out, okay? And, okay, it says no M key. So I guess that means you can't use PCIe NVMe SSDs, which sucks, all right? Anyways, well, I guess you got room for 2 SATA hard drives or SSDs, so yeah. Also, if you're gonna be removing the hard drive caddy or SSD, whatever, 2.5-inch SATA drive caddy, you do have to remove the SSD here so that you can kind of slide it back. I don't think you can lift it high enough that it will go over the SSD there. But anyways, this is very straightforward. It doesn't come with the screws that go into the side of the hard drive. So if you are going to get a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive or SSD to put in here, keep that in mind. I would probably just get I don't use the spinning drives anymore. So if you really wanted additional just storage as a secondary drive, I would get a 2.5-inch SATA SSD, maybe use some double stick tape to just stick it in there and then just slide that in. Very standard. Okay, you got this connector here for the speakers, which goes around and connects both speakers together. Speakers aren't held in with screws, but there are things on top like the battery here. And this one doesn't seem to have anything on top. But let me actually zoom in here for you guys. Get this scam call out of my way. Okay, let's zoom in here. Okay, so this kind of connector you just grab here and you can kind of wiggle it and pull it out. We did do the battery drain, so we are going to disconnect the LCD connector. I'm going to show you the screen, and I'll also show you how I glued the entire thing, or what I did, how I put the glue. Okay, so we're going to pull this back a little, and then I use my fingernail at the edge, my thumbnail here, to basically push the wings of the connectors. So usually I'll use both hands like this, hold this out of the way, use my thumbnails at the wings, and then I'll use that to kind of pull it back just like that. Okay. CPU and GPU are soldered to the motherboard. CPU is right there. I don't know if this is a GPU controller or die or whatever, but there we go. We got the 2 USB ports, the SATA, or not the SATA, the SD card slot, and the 2 activity lights here that are connected to this separate board. So this is removable. It has this little latch you can flip up and then pull the cable out, but I'm going to leave that down. Okay. Then you got the wireless card over here. 2 antennas you pull up from the tails and it should pop out. If you need the model number or anything, hopefully you can see that. I can't read that from here because the screen's so far. I think it's 8265NGW. 8265, yep, 8265NGW. Keyboard connector here. I'm pretty sure this is the trackpad or touchpad connector. And then the hard drive connector is actually removable. If you take the screws out, you can actually pop this up, I believe. So if this breaks for some reason, looks like you can replace it. All right, anyways, we did disconnect. Oh, was I bending it? Uh-oh, I hope I didn't end up making it, so I have to fix it again. All right, so anyways, here we have the screen connector that I kind of disconnected. After that, now what we're going to do, I'm going to use my thumbs to hold on the hinges here, and then I'm going to push with my fingers to push the screen outwards. I should probably zoom out more to kind of show this better. All right, so hold with my thumbs, use my fingers here, push it out, And then I'm gonna, while holding the hinges, use the screen to kind of help open it all the way. Okay. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna rotate this, rest the keyboard on my desk, and then we have access to the screws here that are holding the hinges in place. We'll zoom out a tiny bit more. All right, I'm holding up the screen with my legs. We're gonna now take out the screws from the hinges. Again, there are just those two last screws there, so we'll remove those. Okay, this hinge actually only uses 3 screws to hold it. The 2 outermost ones here, they don't have anything, they don't use screws. Okay, but here you go, we got the screen out. Let me show you what I did to fix the hinge that was broken. So I had to epoxy these little screw mounts back into place. Here you can see I used some JB Weld. You want to use the real JB Weld, don't use the quick like setting or whatever stuff. All right, so I had to use JB Weld there to hold those in place so they don't break and fall out again. Okay, once you've done that and you got the screen here, let me zoom out here. Okay, so this screen is relatively simple to get out. You have this bar, you just have to slide this over. Okay, so I believe it slides over to that way, basically towards here. Once you've done that, you should be able to lift this off. Okay, to remove this piece, I also had to, this part actually broke as well on the hinge. So as you can see, I had to use some JB Weld. Oh, it's not focusing, but I used JB Weld in there as well to hold this. Luckily, the plastic piece just got torn away from the back of this, and then also the metal plate here was like bent pretty bad, so I bent it back as much as I could. It's still a little bit warped, but it's a lot better. Also, the top here got bent, and I couldn't bend that back out, so I just left it. But we'll probably put some tape back like the customer had before. Okay, but now the hinges are good. As far as like removing the screen, you do have to take this little cover, this cover out, because these little hinges here, I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna flip the screen over so it's easier for me to kind of work on it, and I'll kind of see if I can show you guys. So in here, you have these little areas where the screen kind of latches in. So what you do is you get underneath. Okay, let's see. So you lift it up. Okay, and then you pull it back towards yourself to get it out from the clip there. All right, and it might be tough because there are other things that kind of get caught on it, but there we go. So there we go, and then we just keep working our way and doing that with all those clips. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out here and then kind of show you guys, I guess, all of them. All right, so we're just going to keep working our way over to the side. And then these, same thing, you kind of push the hinge inwards while kind of pulling up from the center. I kind of just like rotate it like that, and here you can see it's popping out. We'll get to the top here, and same idea. Rotate it basically from the inside, lifting up and pushing this outer part in towards the screen. And there you go, you can see it comes out relatively easily for the most part. If it gets stuck, don't force it. You kind of just gotta wiggle it, and you should be able to get it to come out, as you can see. Just like this. All right, and then we get all of this out. Okay, and same thing down here, pull that way, and there we go, we got the bezel out. This part's broken, so yeah. All right, as for the screen, okay, there's 4 screws holding it onto the panel here. It's not focusing for some reason. Stay focused, please. I guess let's zoom out. All right, so we're gonna take the 4 screws out here. I'm just gonna kind of show the back. I'm not gonna disconnect the screen, but it's basically the same idea as the one that's connected to the motherboard here. Just peel up the tape and then pull it back. All right, and you want to keep in mind that your screen model might be different. So if you're just doing this, like maybe you don't want to open yours up to check, keep in mind there's a chance that you might have a different screen, so be careful with just going based off the hardware that you see here, like the model numbers. Okay, but if you really don't want to open it up and you're willing to give it a risk it that the screen might be wrong, then you can go ahead and just look at the screen model number here. So here you can see we just lifted that out, and the screen is pretty much out like that. Okay, and here you can see the screen model number right there. Right, B156HAN02.1, right? B156HAN02.1. Okay, anyways, we're gonna put this back into place. So I'm gonna just rotate this back over, get this back in. Okay, very straightforward, this screen. Again, the connector on the bottom is basically like this of the screen, so just do the same thing to remove it. I'm gonna now put back the 4 screws, and we'll just reassemble the computer, and that's pretty much all there is to it. I'm not gonna show how to remove the motherboard because they didn't have any motherboard issues, but yeah. All right, so other than that, not much else to it. Oh, one thing you could do, if you're worried, if you feel like the hinge screws are coming loose, you can add some thread locker to hold them even tighter. So maybe I should actually do that right now. So I'm gonna open this up. Sometimes when these screws, or if these screws come loose, they can cause damage because, oh, actually that's really tight already. So I think I actually put thread locker when I worked on it earlier. Maybe, maybe not. This one came out really easily, so maybe not. But we'll add just a tiny bit. All right, very little, just kind of touch it to it, not even like a full drop like that. You can see it's only on one side. Okay, and then we'll just screw this back into place. All right, I'm going to see if this screw comes out. Okay, this screw came out relatively easily, so we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to check all the screws because if, well, just for the hinge ones, because if these hinge screws come loose and it starts wobbling, that's when it actually starts breaking itself a lot easier. Okay, that one's pretty tight, so I'm going to leave that. That one's also pretty tight. That one's also pretty tight. That one's also pretty tight. So I'm going to leave those alone. Okay. Now we're going to put this piece back in. The rounded side, as you can see here, goes up towards the screen, and this sharp corner goes down towards the bottom. All right, so now we're going to start it further over to the side without the cable. All right, so keep that in mind. Oh, oops, let's go ahead and put the bezel back first. I forgot about that. You have to put the bezel back first because part of the bezel goes underneath the this piece. Okay, so this one, again, to put it back, you kind of have to, for the bottom piece, you have to lift it up slightly and then get those little things to go underneath. All right, get it to go underneath those little clips or latches. All right, so you might have to pull it out slightly and then let it go into place. All right, and then also down here, you want it to also go underneath as well. Okay, there we go. Make sure to get them all in, and also parts of it go slightly underneath the hinge. All right, once you do that, I'm gonna rotate it. Same thing over here. Now I kind of just push on the outside since we don't really need to do the rotating motion to get it to lift it away. All right, so basically when you push the outside, it's making it pop the center up so that it can rotate the clip into place. Basically the same idea of how we removed it. All right, just like this. Okay. Again, we're gonna have to use some tape here because this piece is bent inwards and this plastic won't sit in there anymore. Okay, so yeah, I don't think there's a way to kind of bend that back out without risking damaging everything. Okay, so we're just gonna pop these all back in, make sure everything is good. Right, this clip doesn't seem to have gone in, right? Okay, make sure to pop all these in. Okay, make sure it's flat. All right, now let's go ahead and put this back. Again, we start over further from this, get that locked in or lined up. Once you get that lined up, then you can kind of hold it down and slide it over. This one, because it's broken, is going to be a little bit tough. Probably shouldn't have taken out because now I'm going to have trouble putting this back in again. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure I'm doing this the right way. Oh, oops, I'm doing it the wrong way. Sorry. Okay, last time we slid it this way to take it out, so we have to start back this way. That's why I wasn't able to move it. And then, while you're kind of holding everything into place, then you can slide it back over, and it should lock in. Again, because this thing bent and the plastic broke, it's kind of like sticking up there, but other than that, everything else is good. Okay, I'm going to take the bottom or the keyboard part back, and I am going to add the thread locker to this. Okay, so this piece, same thing as before. I guess let me zoom back out again more. There we go. Okay, so I'll hang this over the edge of the desk. This piece, make sure you're not smashing it with the hinge if you're doing it like this. Okay, Slowly lower it down. Okay, there we go. And then we'll get that lined up. I don't know if the cable was supposed to be on top or on the bottom because it was all broken when I got it. But yeah, right now I put the cable underneath the hinge here. All right, so we're gonna add thread locker again to these 2 screws. Okay, just gonna get a little bit here. All right, and then there's little arrows that point to where these screws go. So just get that screw in. Tighten that down. All right, hopefully this won't break again. We'll get the second screw, same thing, just a little bit. And if you're wondering, this is Loctite 262. Some people are saying like I shouldn't use that because it's too permanent, but I've had some where if you use one that's less permanent, then it ends up, the thing comes loose and then it breaks. So I'd rather have it be more permanent and not break. But anyways, I've always been able to get it out, no problem. So here we go. Anyways, we're gonna hold the hinges again, and we're gonna use the back of the screen. And while pushing with my thumbs on the back of the hinges, we're gonna close it back up just like that. Okay. Now we're gonna put this thing back together, flip it back over, zoom back in again. All right, cable's over here, just get it lined up. I used my thumbs to hold this back, get it into place. Okay, make sure the corners line up here. And then again, I use my fingernails at the like edges here to kind of help pull it in. Just like that, you feel it click in, and then you can kind of stick that adhesive back down. All right, make sure this cable is out of the way. You don't want to end up putting the cover and smashing these the cables in there, so make sure that it is out of the way when you put that back down. Let's zoom back out. We're going to now just put the bottom cover back in. Oh, if you're wondering, the fan is removable, I believe. There's one screw, it seems, that's there holding it, and then the cable should come out easily. Actually, wow, it's still stuck in there. What's holding this? Oh, okay, it's just kind of weird. Oh, so okay, never mind. They put a piece of the fan underneath this. Really annoying. That's a stupid design. They do that so if you take it out, then you either have to I think in this case you have to remove the heatsink to do it, but if you remove this you have to redo the thermal paste, so keep that in mind. All right, so yeah, anyways, now I'm going to put the cover back on. We got this as the thumbnail. Just line this back up, clip everything back down. Very simple, straightforward. All right, make sure it all clicks. If you don't click it in by hand now, I mean, putting the screws should help click it in, so not too big of a deal. All right, so if you're tightening the screw and it makes like a loud pop sound, that's because the screw is popping those clips back in for you. Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead now and get back the screws into place, and we're good to go. That's pretty much all there is to this. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. Oh, I think I didn't reconnect the battery. Okay, make sure you reconnect the battery. That's very important, of course. Okay, so I'm gonna pop this back open. Of course, reconnecting the battery is very important. Somebody, if I didn't do it in the video, somebody's probably gonna be like, you know, you didn't reconnect the battery or something, right? But yeah, so I'm gonna do that now on camera before somebody like talks about it. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and go around here, pop that up. Oh, let go of my shirt. Okay, and we're just gonna pop this out again. Again, this one's kind of a little bit tricky to pop out. You do have to use somewhat of a like thin tool. All right, let's make sure to pop the battery connector back in, and then just slide this piece back over to make sure it locks into place. All right, and there we go. All right, now let's put it back together. Okay. All right, just click everything back in. Oh, is this clip broken? What is that? There's a little piece sticking out here. Where'd it go? I saw something sticking out and it disappeared. Oh. All right, let's go ahead and just click all this back in. Click the middle in, click the outside in. Make sure it helps to kind of push it inwards as you're pushing it down. All right, and there we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and get all these screws back in, and we should be good to go. Again, hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Other than that, you're welcome to stay as I get all these screws back in. We are going to power it up, make sure everything is working okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So, oops, why am I putting that screw there? Go. Get this one in. Alright. Let's get the rest in now. Last one. There we go. Let's go ahead and power this thing up. Flip it over. Open it up. Make sure it opens and closes. Looks good. I do see the bend in here that we can't really get rid of. Okay, the power button light is on. Because we disconnected the battery, it might take a while, but here you can see the ASUS logo and it's spinning. So I think we should be good to go. Let's see. I'll wait for it to completely boot. And there we go. Good to go. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. All right. Let's drop this. Bye. Oop, let me shut this down real quick. All right, bye.